Hi everyone and welcome for this presentation. We just wait a few minutes so everyone has time to join. Hi everyone and welcome for this presentation by Intent. I'm Claus Hugo Frykman and I'm the Global Sales Manager for Intent by Onset, and I will be your presenter today. I would like to thank you all for joining for this presentation related to validated temperature monitoring for labs, clinics and pharmacies. With me today I have my colleague Colin Weingarten, who will support in the background for this presentation. Would you like to introduce yourself, Colin, before going further with the agenda for today and the first couple of slides for the presentation?
Yes, thank you, Klaus. Colin Weingarten. I am the Senior Manager of Product Strategy and Support. And I've been with Intemp for about 4.5 or so years and been in the cold chain industry for maybe about 10 years. We are very happy to present to you this webinar on monitoring in near real time with automation and reports. Okay, first do a little bit of housekeeping here. If you can't hear me and you see us talking, or you think we're talking, please check your audio. There's a couple of options there that you can check. Throughout this webinar, please feel free to ask us any questions that you have. Simply go to the question section and the go to webinar panel and type any questions. I'll be monitoring that question box the entire time. And then we'll obviously have some additional time at the end of the webinar to answer any remaining questions. If we are not able to answer your questions due to time, we will have a record of them and we'll be able to answer them via email. Also, this webinar is being recorded and will be made available to everybody after this session. All right, agenda. Today we'll be going through regulatory requirements for storage monitoring, and we're going to be looking at it from a global level. Talk about some of the challenges associated with storage monitoring, so that's more at the business level. Alternative monitoring methods, benefits of an IoT BLE solution, our solution, and some highlights of our product line. All right, first off, regulatory requirements. Now, obviously, there are tons of regulations out there. You know, there's the GXP, which is GDP and GMP, EU, WHO, FDA, CDC, and then there's your local regulations in addition to that. We will focus a little bit more, again, on global regulations for this session, which really has to do with continuous temperature monitoring. So what does that really mean? It means that regulators want you to make sure that the product is in a safe environment from its inception all the way up to delivery. So from manufacturing to shipping to storage, right up until that time it's given to the patient. You got to make sure that it's being kept in a safe environment that would not damage the vaccine or pharmaceutical good itself or cause any unwanted side effects. What do you need to do that with? Well, you got to have data, obviously. So being able to do sophisticated or just basic even data analysis for quality control to prove that you've kept your product in those conditions the entire time, and doing that through reports. So a lot of times you will get audited to show the data that you have collected around your product, and we're looking to provide you with the solutions you need to meet those regulatory requirements. Lastly, qualifications and validations. What that really is a in-depth audit or test of a process or a system or an object. So that might be a refrigerator, a truck, an HVAC system, or again, it could even be a shipping lane. It's all about showing that your process or the instrument is working the way it's supposed to work, which is an essential part of regulatory requirements. So next up, let's talk about business challenges, because that's obviously not the only thing you're worried about. There's a lot of things that are associated with the type of monitoring that regulatory bodies require you to do and that have a cost to it. One of that is training. A lot of times, training people on new systems, including ours, can take some time. So how do you minimize that training? Cost reduction in general. So one of the things we're going to be talking about is how do you protect your own inventory so that you don't have to waste it and you're not losing money because it went bad while in storage? How do you get the data you need to take action to protect your product? Documentation. Having the correct documentation you need to perform that type of business analysis. So what happened? When did it happen? How do we prevent it? What is some other metadata we can use to assess what actually happened? Of course, there's lawsuits. You know, if something does go wrong and you weren't aware of it because you weren't notified, then you might be giving bad pharmaceutical goods to your patients, and that could always be an issue. And then lastly, standard internal QA compliance. All right. And with that, we're going to be doing a few polls throughout this webinar. The first one being about what are some of your challenges. We just want to get some feedback to see what you're struggling with so we can get a better sense of what we could potentially help you with in the future. So I'm going to start this poll now. Please provide your responses. Actually, Lauren, I might need you to do it. It's not letting me do it.
No problem. I'll launch it right now.
Thank you. Perfect, there it is. So yes, if you could just choose what makes the most sense to you, what your greatest storage mining challenge is, whether that's regulatory compliance, staff training, internal quality control, or something else. I'll give you a few seconds to answer that. All right, we're at about 58%, 61% voted. Perfect. So it looks like a lot of you do agree that staff training is one of the greatest challenges. So that's something that we can definitely address with our solution, and Klaus will be able to speak to more.
Yeah, thank you, Colin. I will go further with the presentation where we're looking into the current solution that is in the market currently used, and then we will look actually on our solution. So that's it, and I will actually turn off my camera just to make sure that it is not interrupting this part. So 2 seconds, and then I go further. Yeah. As we have seen for many years, the traditional data logger solution we have today is based on USB in many cases. Or we also call it autonomous monitoring, and that means some kind of a standalone solution. One of the issues or challenges we see for using that kind of solution is you really must manually remove from the storage, from the fridge, from the freezer to do the download, to do the readout, depending what kind of versions. Sometimes it's also quite limited and difficult to configure the logger to actually do the reconfiguration with the temperature profile. And we also see some issues with the battery replacement. Also, of course, for this kind of solution with the USB, there's no option for remote monitoring to have this kind of alarm notification if there's a deviation. Sometimes, or quite often, we also see it's also quite complicated to actually do the yearly calibration. So that's one of the most used solutions today by the USB, really standardized data logger solution. And then we see the more modern one with the Wi-Fi, being a wireless solution. definitely it relies quite a lot on dependability, definitely on the local network. There could be a lot of issues, and sometimes we see even with the Wi-Fi, as we all know, it can actually fall out and you could lose data depending how the solution is actually built. Even sometimes we see that it's quite typical with the initial setup to have it in place, to really have it function from start. And of course, you also need to have it set up. You probably need to use local IT or your IT department to have it set up correctly. And sometimes, or we see quite often, that it's also quite initial. There's a high cost to get started. That's the traditional solution we have seen for many years. And then we go a bit further, this one, and then we actually have the BLE, the Bluetooth IoT alternative to the solution I actually mentioned before. In general, as we see it, Bluetooth is a relatively low cost option compared to other solutions. Also with the USB, and that is mainly also based for the functionality. Also with Bluetooth, they have the possibility to have remote automation capabilities available with the gateway, with the Wi-Fi. And it's also a quite flexible solution. It's touchless because all the data transferring is actually done either by our gateway to the cloud or by a mobile app that can be used on mobile devices. So it's actually quite easy to use, and even the initial setup is quite easy. It's easy to configure and it's easy to use, and you can actually customize in so many ways. And it's also quite reliable, the Bluetooth within range. So that's the alternative to the solution I mentioned before. We already have the second survey. What kind of monitoring solution do you currently use? Please feel free to give your feedback. Yeah, thank you. Yes, we're sharing the poll results. Yes. Now we actually looked into our solution, some of the highlights. Our solution from Intem is we only have two solutions in general. That's the Bluetooth, the BLE loggers, and then we have the cellular technology options. Can also call it a kind of a real time, or it is real time. Our solution is based on a centralized data storage and reporting on a secure 21 CFR Part 11 EU Annex 11 compliant cloud solution. So actually our solution is based on this cloud, and we have no fee for using our cloud platform. There's no fee at all. And by the cloud, you can actually do a lot of customization, a lot of automation. Within the cloud, you have all the user management, you have all the, you can do all the profiling, and you actually have it as a compliant archive for all your documentation, for all your reports, for all your data. And for automation, you can actually set up these alarms based on the temperature profile, and it's easy to do the configuration, and you can actually do the download, the readout of the data loggers quite easy, especially if you have a gateway. That means it can actually be done 100% automatic. And the reporting can be customized in so many ways. So we have the cloud platform, and combined with the cloud platform, we have the mobile app that can also be used for most of the same functions as we have in the cloud. Let's go. And then for having the full automation, it is necessary to have a gateway. And we have this standardized, we've had for many years, this is CX5000. And if you have that installed, that actually means we can do automatic readout, and everything can actually run fully automatic in so many ways. And so it's really great to have the the gateway, and to really have that automation to be proactive, and you can reduce the cost. But that means you can actually eliminate all the manual work that you normally see with the normal solutions, and you in most cases you actually also minimize the errors you normally see coming from manual handling and other issues. And you can really received with this gateway, you can really have these live notifications. If there should be low battery, if there should be a deviation, excursion for the temperature, you can actually have it as an email notification or text notification that you actually have a rising temperature in most cases. It could be due to high activity on your fridge or freezer. So there's so many possibilities if you integrate the gateway. And the gateway is actually a fair low cost. And as I mentioned before, our cloud platform, our mobile app is all free to use. There's no cost at all. The only place where we actually have what we call annual fees is actually if you have the gateway, you have a standard annual fee of $50 per year, up to 5 devices. If you have more than 5 gateways, there will be a lower price per device. So definitely the gateway for full automation, that's really the key. And then in the beginning of next year, we will actually have an option to the standardized gateways where you actually need to have a fix. It needs to be in your local network, in your LAN network. But if you have a third party or it's an issue to have the local network, you can actually have a cellular gateway, which actually run on the cellular network by a SIM card. And that means you can have exactly the same functionality. And that new option device, the CX5500, will actually come in the beginning of next year. Yeah, and then we go to the cloud, because that's really key. That's really our turning point, because that's actually, as we said, to be compliant, it's a highly secure 21 CFR Part 11, EU Annex 11 compliant. You can customize in so many ways, seen from the reporting and all that. And we actually store all the data on the cloud up to 15 years. And all these data is actually, you can say, your data, but we're actually storing it so you can actually go back and look into that documentation, because on the bottom line, it's all about having the right documentation. Within the cloud platform, there's a lot of possibilities to do data visualization, data analyze, reassessment. And as I mentioned earlier, there's also a high flexibility to build up this kind of a user management with the different roles, permission. You normally had an admin user, and then you can have many different roles below, depending what they're allowed to see. You can set up all this alert and data notification, and you can even set up automatic reporting. That means it can actually send an email with the weekly reports, daily reports, monthly reports. There's so many possibilities with the cloud. And as mentioned again, it's a no-fee cloud platform. There's no cost at all to use the cloud. So for our solution, the only cost to begin is only for the devices. And then going a bit deeper into the reporting, as I mentioned, our solution is customized, can be customized in so many ways. You can actually choose the data you want to include. You can organize and group data and specific tags for advanced analytics, multiple analyzed types. You can work with PDFs, raw data. You can set it up in so many ways. You can export a CSV file, so you can work with the data in other system. And even with our cloud, we can even export data. That means not export, we can actually have what we call an API. That means you can even do further integration to other systems. For example, an ERP systems in so many ways. So there's a lot of possibilities. And as I mentioned before, you can do this customized reports that can be emailed at a specific time, daily, weekly, monthly, and that can be sent by email to specific key users, to the QA, all relevant persons. So there's a lot of possibilities with the reporting within our cloud solution. And then by the app, that's the additional one. That means maybe not all users are within the cloud. It's not possible. You don't have the access to the cloud in the specific lab, in the specific pharmacy. Then you can actually use our app on a mobile device, and you have nearly all the same functionalities. You can manage all the data. You can easily look at the exact logger status. Have there been any deviation? You can see the current temperature. Is there any notifications you need to look at, anything? And you can even start and download your loggers. And when you actually download the data, do the readout, it will automatically actually send it up to the cloud, up to your compliant archive. You can actually send reports for your QA, for quality control, and even for further analytics. You can even create your logger profile and customize how your loggers operate with the specific logging interval and how it should be with the profile. And again, even our app and together with our cloud is only highly secure, 21 CFR Part 11 EU Annex 11 compliant. And the app is also free to use and can be downloaded by the App Store and by Google Play. So it's also for the Apple phones, iPad, Android phones. So many possibilities to use the app as a local kind of dashboard. Now for the third survey questions for the third pool. What feature do you value the most with product monitoring systems? Please give your feedback. Now we go into the specific devices we're using for doing what we call refrigeration and storage monitoring. And as you see here, this is our kind of application overview for this specific application, kind of explainer to see with the different devices, how they're connected with either the app, the gateway. You can use it for fridges, all kind of equipment where you need to have this kind of validated temperature monitoring within your clinic, pharmacy, labs. And this is our complete product family as it looks right now. Quite a nice one. We actually have it divided into two parts, mainly, or three parts, you can say. We have what we're going to discuss today, all the CX400 series. That's all these BLE loggers, Bluetooth loggers with display. And then we have the gateway. And then on the right side, you actually have a kind of new addition. That's all the real-time, the cellular data loggers, real-time monitoring. That's actually connect directly to the cloud. So if you're using that kind of device, you don't need the gateway. And then for the transport segment, we actually have the same BLE loggers, the small one you see on the bottom, in all different kind of versions, single use, multi-use, having a range from plus 200 to minus 200. We even have versions for dry ice, for cryo, if you have to go all the way down to minus 196. And in multi, and it's actually working exactly the same way as the CX400 series with display. The main difference is you don't have a display and you cannot exchange batteries. Now we go into different devices for this application, and one of the most common one is actually the one with external probe for doing a fridge or freezer monitoring. And we have, as a standard, we have two versions. We have done with the free probe, either as a blunt probe and a sharp probe, or you can have it with glycol bottle. That means you can actually build in a kind of delay, so you will not have a lot of excursions when you actually have a high activity on your fridge or freezer. And it is in different sizes, and you also have different size or your different cable lengths. So there's a lot of different versions within the same two parts. And this device comes with an external channel, you can say the probe, and then you actually have a second temperature channel. So it's a two-channel data logger. So you have the internal one and the external one, so you can actually at the same time measure the ambient temperature around your equipment. And as I said, these are mainly used for fridges and freezers, and it's have a range from minus 40 to 100 degrees operating range. You can have local alarming by audio or visual alarms in the display, and within the display you can actually also see if you have a low battery notification. As mentioned, we have with the bottles for, and of course it is all connected. Either you can read out, check status by the mobile app, or you can have it fully automated by the gateway. These loggers come as a standard with a calibration. NIST calibration certificate is a 1 point for both the external and internal sensor. And then we actually have the same device, but you can say tailor-made for this specific CDC compliant storage data logger. So there's a little bit difference, but the hardware is the same. It's the same operating range from -40 to +100 degrees. You have the local alarming. Again, you have the glycol sizes in different, or the bottle to have really different delays. And again, it's working with the gateway and the mobile app. But the main difference compared to our standard CX402 is that you actually have, with this specific CDC compliant logger, you actually have a 3 years 1 point NIST calibration certificate for both the external and internal sensor. So that's the main difference, but otherwise it's the same device. And the next one is our CX403 data logger for temperature monitoring. That's really standardized. It's an internal sensor, so there's no external probe. You normally use it for measure the temperature. It could be a cold storage, but normally within the ambient room conditions. And the operating temperature seen from the housing is -30 degrees to +70 degrees. And you still have the local alarming. And it is also working together with the gateway and the mobile app. It is delivered with a 1 year calibration certificate, 1 point. And actually, I didn't mention that on the back side on this CX400 series, you actually have some small magnets, so you can actually place it directly on a magnetic surface, so it can actually outside the fridge, the freezer. And if you have external probe, it go either in by the door or either by a specific port on the back side. And therefore, it's quite often that you have to decide if you want to have a 2-meter cable or 4-meter cable. The next one is actually our CX450. That's a data logger that actually measures both temperature and relative humidity. And it has the same operating range seen from temperature as the 403. That means from -30 to +70. And seen from the relative humidity is from 0% to 95% relative humidity. Again, we have the possibility of having a local alarming, either by sound or by the display. And again, it works with our gateway and our mobile app. And this is also delivered with a 1 year calibration certificate, a 2 point, one for temperature and one for humidity. And then we have the CX405, which is actually what we call our dry ice data logger. That could be definitely for all the COVID vaccines, because most of the COVID vaccines need to be stored at -80 by a ULT freezer. And to have this external probe that can actually go down to -95. And again, we have local alarming, gateway, mobile app. It is delivered with a 1 year 2 point calibration certificate, and it's a 2 point for the probe. So that's actually our range within the standardized CX400 series. And here you actually have a quick overview of the different versions with the different specifications. And this presentation and this overview will actually be provided afterwards. So I will just move forward. When we're talking about Intemp and how we support our customer, one of my key points is that our solutions are no better than the support we can give. So that's quite key for us to really give that. So we have what we call the tech support, where you can actually go in and interact and connect with the tech support by our website. And you can put some kind of send in an error report, or if you need help, and they will get back quite fast and support you all the way, either by email or you can actually have a direct session with our people in the tech support. Our customer support actually give this kind of possibility that you can actually join. We have weekly live trainings for our cloud, for our software, so you can really get familiar how our system works. We have what we call the Intemp admin training. That's of course for the full functionality, how to set it up and how to do a demo and all, to really go through the setup. And then we also have training for what we call normal operators, other user roles, basic user training for the daily handling of the loggers and reporting. And if you need support to choose the right device, seen from probe, cable length, what kind of glycol bottle based on your application. You can reach out to sales and you can have a dialogue, and you can even place an order, or we can do a specific go through a demo. We can go through application specifications, and we can really assist to find the right solution for your needs. A quick sum up of our solution. As we see it, there's little to no training required after initial setup, because if we have set it up in a proper way, it is just running perfectly, and it's really automated in so many ways. Even if you're just using the mobile app, it's really easy to use. You can reduce spoilage and really have a look at, because our solution in general is a fair cost, really low cost seen from what we see in the market. With our solution, there's a lot of possibilities to do automation with the alarm notification by sending out a text notification, email notification for low battery warnings, for excursions, deviations. It's easy to do the logger configuration and the readout, the downloading, and even to do all this customized reporting functionality. We have a simplified documentation that is customizable, and you can do this automatic reporting option as mentioned earlier by a daily report, weekly report, monthly report, according to your needs and your SOPs. You can really work on all the different user roles. They can really be specific to the different users, to the different operators. And that actually means you can really limit what certain users can see and do in the systems to make sure that it's running perfectly. And as mentioned by our customer support team, we do all these free live trainings, and we have a lot of resources and support from our website, where you can actually find all kind of documentation, white paper. We have how-to videos. There's a lot of information on our website to support the solution. Now for the final survey questions. When assessing a data logger supplier, what is your main consideration for doing a purchase? Please give a feedback. Yes. Yes. And then the next one, if you don't know, Intemp by Onset, we are a US-based company. We are based in Bourne, Massachusetts, outside Boston, just south of Boston. And we have existed since 1981, so that's actually 42 years so far. And it's easy to contact us either by phone, by the website. Our opening hours is normal working hours from 8 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. And even outside, if you're based in APAC in Europe, you can actually call, because I didn't mention that in the beginning. I'm actually based out of Europe, so I'm 6 hours ahead of the East Coast time. And therefore, you can actually call me earlier on this direct number if you need support or discuss a specific solution. And otherwise, you can find a lot of information on our webpage. And now I think I will hand over to my colleague, Colin, to see if we have received any questions during the webinar, to do a Q&A based on that. Have we received anything, Colin?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions here, and just a reminder, if you do have any questions, to please type them into the question box. One person asked, what is the quickest way to get their loggers recalibrated? So that depends on your location. So if you are within the United States, the best way is to go onto our website. We do have a recalibration request page there where you enter in the serial numbers of your loggers, and then it will process the request. If you are outside of the United States, you can go to the same recalibration page to see who our international recalibration partners are. We have a few out there, a couple in the EU, one in Asia Pacific. We're looking for another one in South America, but do not have one there at the moment. But they'll be a better option for you if you are outside of the United States. So easy enough to go on our website to put in the request or find out who to contact. The other question I see here is, how do you configure without using Gateway when you do have a gateway? So the easiest way to do it is just to simply use the mobile app. The Intem mobile app, as Klaus mentioned, is free to use. It works in conjunction with the gateway. So it's not one or the other. You can use both of them. And the data will go to the same place, the same Intem Connect Cloud account. You'll have the ability to download, start your loggers, produce reports, everything you pretty much really need to do in the Intem mobile app. Another question. Oops, hold on one second. Controls are being a little funny on me at the moment. Creating automatic reports. Yeah, so the easiest way to do that is, well, there's a couple of things. The gateway itself can be set up to download once per week, and that will produce a report for you as long as you have your notifications set up. There's also a advanced reporting option within Intem Connect called scheduled reports, where you can set up a report to be created for you at any frequency that you want. I would suggest attending one of the trainings we have, one of the free trainings that will go a bit over how to set up your gateway properly for automated reports. And if you need help with using the report scheduler tool, you can contact our tech support team. Do the data loggers have rechargeable batteries? It depends on which data logger. The CX400s are AAA batteries, so you can replace them yourselves, very easy to do. The CX500, 600, 700 series are lithium coin cell, those cannot be replaced. And then the CX1000s, our real-time cellular loggers, are rechargeable with just a standard USB-C cord. Can the data loggers push data through the gateway to the web portal on a scheduled interval instead of the user downloading data? Yes. The way you do that is by purchasing one of our gateways that automates that process for you entirely. So you set up the gateway to do a regular download every so often. You define when it does that download. Excuse me. And then you can program it so that automatically relaunches the logger with the same exact commands and profiles, so that you just kind of set it and forget it. It downloads and it restarts every so often as you need data. So you're going to want to look into the gateway for that. Currently using the CX402 VFCs. Is there any way to still use the same units but have the feature remote alarm monitoring? As long as you have the gateway, you will be able to get the remote alarms and monitoring. If you don't have a gateway, it's more of a manual process. You will have to be in range of the loggers, download them, and you can still get notifications through Intem Connect, but you're already on site and you already know what's happening, so they're not as useful in that sense. The gateway is what allows for automation. So again, logger start, logger downloading, your alerts, your notifications, and so forth. And then the app is more and more of your manual process while you're on site and in range of those loggers. And again, they can be used together. Is there a downside to using the 403 instead of the 402 for internal freezer or fridge monitoring? The biggest risk with using a 403 in a freezer is it can only go down to a certain temperature. I believe that's -20. And if you go below that, you start to impact the operations of the logger itself. So that's where having a probe on the logger is a better option for you. For fridge monitoring, you definitely can use a 403. The nice thing about having the 402 is you don't have to pull it out of the fridge every time you want to take a look at it. You just keep the probe in there and then you take a look at it. But you can use a 403 for fridge monitoring and just sticking it right in there, and it will work via Bluetooth as long as there isn't a lot of other things that might be blocking the Bluetooth connection, like really thick walls or anything that's metal other than the refrigerator itself. Is there an easy manner to see the current temp remotely from the app? No, unfortunately, there isn't. With the app, you do have to be in Bluetooth range of the logger. Using the gateway to perform downloads, whether that's automated downloads or manual downloads, would be the best way to be able to see what's going on with your loggers. We are looking to put in some enhanced functionality maybe next year, where you'll have a dashboard and you can be able to see updated information as logger data is uploaded to the cloud. That is definitely something we're working on, but right now it either has to be on site with the mobile app, or you have to rely on the gateway to do a download. And if you need information more frequently, there are options in Internet Connect to do a manual download, so you don't have to wait for the next scheduled one. Yes, the gateway is purchased separately, and it does have a data plan, as Klaus mentioned. It is $50 per year per gateway, so very minimal cost there, but you do need to purchase it separately to get that automation and to get the notifications and temperature alerts that you're looking for. Can you use the same product to monitor some areas where we have our pharma refrigerator? I'm not exactly sure what that question means, but the loggers can be used in just about anywhere as long as, again, there isn't anything that might be disrupting Bluetooth connectivity, like really thick walls. As long as you make sure that you have strong connectivity, you should be fine to monitor wherever you need to. And that's it for questions right now. Please feel free to continue to send us any questions you might have with the remaining time. Again, if not, we can answer any final questions via email after the webinar is over.
Just a short recap I could do, because really to get started with our solution, the easiest way is actually just to purchase 1 or 2 devices according to your needs, and then just do the initial configuration in the cloud, and then you can actually, in the daily handling of your validated temperature monitoring, you just have the devices and the mobile app, and then you still have behind, you have a compliant archive for having all your reports or all your data, all the readouts. So that's a really easy way to get started. And on our website, there's a nice product overview, even with pricing, and you can even do purchase by our website. And of course, do have a look into this application knowledge section and the support section if there's any question, or just reach out, as Colin mentioned, just either by phone or by the website. There's so many different ways to get in touch with us. Yes, have there come any further questions, Colin? No?
Nope, I do not see anything.
No, then somehow we are close to the end, and I would definitely like to say thank you very much for attending this webinar. It was a real pleasure, and that's it, I guess, for now. So thank you very much, everyone.